Please welcome to the show the publisher of Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated and the host of the Detroit Sports Podcast, and a man who joins us every single week. And also, this interview is brought to you guys by BetUS, so check them out as well. Please welcome John Maakaron. John, how you doing? How you doing tonight? We missed you.
Well, you guys know after a long day covering the NFL, podcasting, writing, creating content, I crack open a real American beer and talk with the fellas. It's a great day. I think there was a lot of panic. There was a lot of panic. It tastes amazing, especially when it's chilled. Real American beer, man. It's great. It's the official beer of the doc, and I love it. It's great. And it's something that will help me calm down the nerves like everybody else was feeling when Jahmyr Gibbs goes down, Terry and Arnold, and this Rakestraw. Crack open a beer, boys. It was a good news from Dan Campbell today. Man, I think the fan base needed it. They were teetering a little bit, my goodness. And yes, I saw Jeff. I saw Booner out there, very respectful always, and come up and say hello when they see me. And it's all good, man. It's funny as hell when people are questioning facts when you can clearly know if someone's there or not.
It's crazy, Doc. I don't understand it's insane. It's insane. And it's like people coming at credibility here. That's the first time.
You don't want to encroach on Booner's credibility.
Yeah, I'll go to the end of the world to.
Well, listen, on that side of it, I could tell Booner does maybe look like a liar, a shyster. Somebody does a 3-card money or something that will call you up and be like, hey, can I borrow some money and never pay it back? I don't know, maybe, you know what? You got to put on the collared shirt. You got to look more. That's the whole key. When you're rolling around in a T-shirt and your own face on your shirt, it lends to people it lends to people questioning your credibility. But no, I can firmly stamp that the boys are out there, and even if they're not, they're so dialed in that they're looking at the right sources. They're not looking at the aggregators. They're looking at the beat writers that are covering it. So they know what's going on. They're asking questions. These guys are dialed in. So you can't knock a lot of people when they ask questions. Even Easy in the chat, he's also very credible too. I know he also looks like a shady used car salesman, but at the same token, he's out there asking questions, paying attention, listening into the questions that the doc answers. So these guys are credible, and don't question people's credibility, man. It's not right.
DLC approved, baby.
Before I ask you a question, this just stood out to me. Burning Issue says, Doc, did Anza go off in the crowd for not cheering great defensive plays today? Is that true?
Yeah, okay. So here's what happened. One writer, I tweeted it at Detroit Podcast, where you can see. Here's what happened. It was eerie. It was a little bit weird, and it was just the defense was making some plays, and there was a pass breakup, and the defense was doing well, and it went like eerily silent in the corner there by the stands, and you could literally hear a pin drop. And so Alex Anzalone is like, he's been kind of frustrated a little bit over the course of camp that the fans aren't cheering for great defensive plays. So he starts kind of waving his arms and is like, it's so silent that it's audible. He's like, you can cheer for other people. So he has been a little bit frustrated at times because the fans are so pro offense and JMO and St. Brown and Goff that he kind of wants a little bit of love for the defense. And it was, like I said, you could literally hear a pin drop. That's how quiet it was when the defense was making some plays. So it was eerie. And he said it out loud. He said, hey, you guys can cheer for somebody else too. You can cheer for multiple people. And he was trying to get the crowd into it for the defense. And he should champion people being a little bit more supportive of the defense.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like offense.
LB1 right there, baby.
Yeah, I mean,
demands excellence.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Campbell had a pick 6 today. I didn't mention that here. But yeah, he did as well. But Doc, I want to ask you to start off just the Judon stuff. I know how you feel about it, and we talked about it earlier, and we all agreed. Like the 3rd round pick, they don't have it. Gio, they traded, they moved up to get Gio Vani Manu. So yeah, we have the explanation, the why, as DMAC would always say. Give me the why. That's the why. No 3rd round pick. The Falcons had it. They land Judon. Do you have any maybe a feeling, or what's your take on the possibility that Brad picked up the phone and inquired? Do you think that Brad just stayed away from Judon, even because the Falcons? I'll tell you this. I don't think they even have enough money to extend him. I think he's just going to end up being a rental for them because they have $3.5 million this year, $8 million the following year, and then they have cap in 2 years. So what's your take on the Judon stuff? I saw some Lions fans on Twitter kind of going back and forth about it. What say you?
Well, you guys have asked me about this, and you guys kind of were a little bit in disagreement with my take that the Lions would definitely stay away from Judon. And I get what you guys are saying. You guys definitely want talent along the defense. Everybody wants to have a solid defensive line opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. But at that price, the third round pick, which the Lions don't have, I'm sure Brad inquired or looked at what it would take. And clearly knowing that Judon is somebody that is north of 30 years old, I think you have comparable players on this roster that can kind of fill that role. And I was thinking, as I was listening earlier, I heard what you guys were talking about and debating about Judon. If, Brad Holmes is going to make a move, I think he likes what he's done on defense. I think that he picked up solid players in the draft. Free agency brought Davenport, DJ Reader. You're liking the development of Pascal and James Houston. To me, as I was thinking, if they make a push, just based on the value that Brad Holmes has placed on star players and premium players on offense, I think he maybe makes a push to maybe shore up the offensive line, another wide receiver. I would maybe not say that he shores up the defense at the trade deadline. I say maybe he could potentially, just kind of reading the room and looking at things and looking at that offense and how great it is. If you have something that's elite, why not make it even better? So I would say that Brad Holmes may even turn to the offense to shore it up. Maybe a wide receiver that is out there at the deadline that could come in and help. So I look at it from that perspective. I say that, the news that you're hearing out of camp, James Houston is going to be now on the edge. The experiment is over. And clearly they watched the film against the Giants, and it wasn't that great. He's like, there's too many things he's got to pay attention to trying to be the Sam linebacker. And I asked after Dan Campbell had said, look, we're going to kind of maybe slow down that experiment, put Houston back at edge. I asked Aaron Glenn today, I said, what benefit does that give? And he's like, look, he's a pass rush specialist. He has the elite trait to do that. Now he can kind of focus on that and maybe make that even a stronger strength. So I like that. I like that they've kind of did the test. They wanted to see if he could play at the Sam linebacker spot. That spot's locked up by Derek Barnes, and they're trying other people like Ukwu and Betts and other people for depth. But I like James Houston. I like Davenport. Those are solid right there. And I think that you guys wanted to shore up an area of need that the team probably doesn't feel that they have. And here's another insight too, that we've talked about who's going to play opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Well, they have kind of looked at that question, and Terrell Williams and others have said, look, you can't just look at one player and say, hey, go save the defense. He's like, we want the defensive line to play together as a unit. And when you look at that, imagine you have Aiden Hutchinson, Levi Onwuzurike, DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil. You now have a front four that can probably win a lot of battles. And you look at it from the perspective of having Derek Barnes in the mix in certain packages, and you recognize, playing together, I think that even if certain attention is just taken away for DJ Reader, that could just simply unlock Aiden Hutchinson to get his 15, 20 sacks where he alone could do things. So collectively, you say, okay, the sum of the parts maybe will definitely help Aiden and help others as well. We're all expecting Aleem McNeil to have a breakout season, Davenport if he stays healthy. So I think that people are more panicked outside of the Allen Park facility than inside. I think they're happy with it currently, but hey, a football team's always got room to improve. But I just think right now, before you see Davenport play a down, I don't think they're going to make another move on defense before the trade deadline. I don't see it. I think that if a move is made by the end of training camp, it'll be for wide receiver, because clearly they're not happy with what's going on at wide receiver 4 and beyond.
Yeah, Doc, that's my question here is the wide receiver thing. And I know I've been pretty vocal the last month or so on wide receiver 3-4 there with DPJ and all these different guys that are incorporated into that kind of position battle. What are your thoughts on that? Because I mentioned that a couple of days ago on the show that if come Saturday, if no other, and I know it's tough for some of these wide receivers with some of these backup quarterbacks to get a good look, but if come Saturday, like no one really stands out again, do you hit that red button a little bit and Dan and Brad go, hey, let's go around the league and see if we can bring someone in? I know Juju Smith's available now. The Texans have a bunch of wide receivers who some are going to get cut. Like, do you just say, hey, let's go make a move and let's maybe make a trade, or let's go pick a cut player up? Because as much as we thought Darius Fountain was going to be the guy, he's starting to back off a little bit. And DPJ he just up and down, and it just doesn't feel like there's like a very reliable wide receiver 3-4 there outside of Khalif. What do you think is going to happen there from what you've seen?
Hey guys, I interrupted today's video to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. Currently, BetUS is offering you a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits for up to $2,000. Now, terms and conditions apply. Please bet responsibly. Link will be in the description. Sign up using our link. And with the football season coming around, Detroit Lions fans, you want to make some extra money. Well, there are lines that are currently out there that I like. For example, and I'll show you this one. Aiden Hutchinson is plus 1,200 to win Defensive Player of the Year. If I'm telling you right now, that is favorable. Good odds on a player that is expected to have a monster year. Only on BetUS.com. Check it out. Let's get back to the video.
Yeah, it's you look at it and you say, okay, consistency, Fountain kind of rose through the ranks, had a couple of practices, but he's kind of tailed off a little bit. It really was disappointing to see Antoine Green down there and injured at MetLife. It was just really frustrating. And then he ends up getting waived with an injury settlement. And it's so unfortunate because he's the prototype of kind of what you want. Look, I think DPJ had a good couple practices. I think he ends up being that guy. But at the same token, I don't think you're going to replace Josh Reynolds in the way in which people think. I think that collectively, when you look at the offense, I think people are making way too much about wide receiver 4. Just look at the production of wide receiver 4 on any roster. It's just not going to be that much. It's going to be maybe 10, 15 catches, a reliable target here and there. So I think it's a little bit something that people should pay attention to regarding it in case of an injury. But clearly, Khalif Raymond's number 3, and he's very solid. But at the same token, you have 5 weapons on offense that need the football. And I want them getting the ball. I want Amon-Ra. I want J-Mo getting the ball maybe now a lot more. I want, Sam Laporta getting the football and Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. And then you could throw in Vaki too as somebody that can be a change of pace as well and spell. And you still got Craig Reynolds, who's been productive, steady. So you got a lot of offensive weapons. So wide receiver, look, you maybe will go out and get a big body target. Maybe you look for somebody that's cut or things like that. I don't know if they're going to invest in trading a draft pick for that. I think that maybe we'll look to a camp. But also at the same token, Caden Davis is making plays. I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think, will probably be the player that will be targeted the most and focused on heavily this week. He's got to step it up. They clearly like what he brings to the table, and they've been challenging. I think that when Dan Campbell said, hey, we're dying for anybody to step up, DPJ steadily stepped it up, but he's not doing it on a consistent basis, out there day to day. But I do think that if the light switch can go on for DPJ, he'll secure that role and get some of those targets. But look, if it's third down, I want the ball going to Amon-Ra. I want it to go into Jameson. I want it to go to Sam Laporta. I don't want it to go anybody else in terms of, trusting others to secure plays. Josh Reynolds was unique in that he had the relationship with Jared Goff. But at this point in time, I think that, yes, pay attention to wide receiver 4 and 5, but I don't think it's that big a deal if it's not locked up right away by training camp. It's just not. You have a lot of weapons already.
Doc, I wanted to give you to give us an update on Hendon Hooker. Are we going to see him play this weekend?
Yeah, we saw him out there. It was good to see. Number 2 out there. And look, man, it was tough. We talked about it last week. He's got to get down and slide more. He's got to be available. And I think that it's just valuable for him to get out there and play a bunch of snaps. And it'll be interesting now because you brought in Fromm, but we haven't seen him out there. He's out there in individual warmups, but no team period. So you want to give Hendon Hooker as many reps as possible. I think he'll get cleared and he'll have the opportunity to play and do more things. And that'll be great. I think that playing against the Chiefs on the road, another tougher environment, and every rep for Hendon Hooker will be beneficial to him in order for him to see more, learn more. And I'm excited to see it because when you have an opportunity like Hendon does to really piggyback off of a nice performance, that can just build momentum. He had a very nice drive where the offense just looked different. I mean, the offense looked terrible under Sudfeld. Whatever reason, best way to put it in our terms nowadays, Nate Sudfeld has less than no aura. When Hendon Hooker went out there, the offense, there was some aura. The offense had a little bit of spice. The aura was there. And now you build upon that. And that's what you want to see is a little bit more progression and growth. And that's what I want to see. I want to see somebody that makes his reads, throws the ball, and operates the operates the offense in the way in which Ben Johnson wants it. And so I would love to see a connection with Caden Davis that he had today in camp, connection with DPJ. And so hopefully he has that opportunity to play, because the more reps that he gets, the further along in his development, the better it is for the Lions.
And kind of staying with the injury topic, Doc, and a guy that I hope to God we don't have to see in preseason, but Jahmyr Gibbs, and specifically talking about week 1. And Dan said he's going to be ready week 1, but do you think that just the fact that he did tweak his hamstring kind of worries them and kind of gives him a weakened workload compared to David Montgomery week 1?
You look at it from the perspective of the running backs. You're talking about Vaki, right?
No, Gibbs.
Right.
Gibbs, the fact that he got hurt this week, do you think that kind of leads Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson to give him less of a workload week 1 against the Rams?
Okay. So So my thinking went to, okay, how do you solve this riddle if Jahmyr Gibbs is not there? You look at it and you say, man, hamstrings are the worst. I've suffered a series of calf and hamstring injuries in my life, and nowhere near a pro level athlete, but they just linger. And that's the worrisome part. Now, I don't want to set any alarms. Okay. I'm only saying this in regards to practice, but I'm starting to get that DeAndre Swift vibe from Jahmyr Gibbs, where, you know what, he's a little bit tough to maintain a regular practice schedule. And I can understand why, when you're, cutting and bursting and doing all those things. But clearly you have faith in Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not going to call him DeAndre Swift in terms of the ending productivity, but it just seems like his ability to practice on a regular basis hasn't been there the early part of his career. But when he gets on the field, look, the man's magic. So I'll take that all day. And he has the intangibles. So I look at it like he's going to get rest for the next couple of weeks. They will not play him unless he's ready. They will not risk injury. I do think that when you're hearing the reports that he'll be ready, I do think he'll be ready for week 1. And I think that, you want to ease him into the season and things like that. And against the Rams, you probably, I would look at it like, a game with David Montgomery pounding the rock is maybe not a bad thing, because the Rams, you got to test that defensive line. Now that they've had changes there, you want to see how you match up against their defensive line. But yeah, maybe a little bit more David Montgomery, but I still think that early on, I'm curious to see, like everybody else, the percentage of snaps that Jahmyr Gibbs gets. I do think they want to use him a little bit more in the passing game. And I think the opportunity is there for him to make plays, but the blessing is on offense. Even if Gibbs, goes down to, like, let's say 10, 15 snaps and it's periodic on third down, or you have opportunities to move the chains early via the screens and things like that, that's good enough. I think this offense has the blessing on offense is that there's a myriad of ways that they can do things. And now you can mix in Vaki too as well, that, okay, the 5-10 snaps that and Craig Reynolds, the 5-10 snaps that maybe you don't give to Gibbs, you hand them off to Reynolds, who's been, look, if you guys have been out there, Craig Reynolds is getting the football. He's just productive. He makes plays. And when he's had his opportunity, he hasn't really disappointed. So I'm not terribly concerned against the Rams at home. Now, if it lingers, that's the thing, is that now every single carry that Jahmyr Gibbs has the first part of the season, we're all going to be looking, going, please let this hamstring stay healthy. So let's see. He's got to strengthen, because it's been nagging for him the better part of his rookie season now, and now this early part of training camp. But hey, I'm all for sacrificing practice if you're out there at showtime during the games.
I'll ask you. Excuse me, just choked on water. I'll ask you about Jack Campbell, because we had the conversation, and then Doc, you know what? He just showed out today. He looked great, pick 6, and he just looked like the player that we kind of expect him to be. What are some of your takeaways from the young linebacker today? Now, getting more comfortable playing that Mike position, which we all assume he's just going to thrive in. But what'd you think of how he played today?
Oh, it was great. Great to see a pick, right? He rushed down the lane and enjoyed that touchdown. Look, Jack Campbell is somebody that I think is going to be a playmaker. He's going to be somebody that you don't have to worry about. I mean, that guy's a dog. That guy is so locked in that I'm sure probably right now he's sitting at home reviewing that touchdown and how he could have, how he can repeat that and be better in coverage and get better at everything that he's doing fundamentally. Look, the linebacker spot, it's always tough, but you got a lot of leaders there, and Derek Barnes and Alex Anzalone are doing their thing. Mitchell Gude is doing some things as well. So I like what the linebackers are doing. Jack Campbell, I'm very curious as well, because you need him to have a second-year leap for this defense. And it's going to be, very beneficial for the defense to have better secondary and the better defensive line. And for Jack Campbell, I think the experiment that they did last year, putting him at different spots, letting him rush from the Sam spot, letting him do things. Now you're starting to see him in coverage. Look, not many teams have tight ends like the caliber of Kittle and Laporta and things like that. But man, I think that him working, coming out of the in coverage and learning, battling Sam Laporta can only help him. I mean, Sam Laporta has gotten the edge, but clearly he's going to have the edge against a lot of people, but that can only help him. And I think that for Jack Campbell, what you like about him, he's got all the intangibles. I think he's a little bit faster. I think he's recognizing it, and he can play a little bit freer. And I think from that sense, you're going to see opportunities for him to do a little bit more, and that can only bode well for this defense. It was great to see, right? A nice interception as Aaron Glenn was praising him. It just really went hand in hand.
Yeah, and Doc, I want to other side of the ball here, the offense. Go back to the offense real quick. One thing that stood out to me at camp today, and every time honestly we've been there, is kind of the little trio here going on of Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams. And we had the conversation earlier this show about, I feel like Jared Goff can take a big step. As good as he had a season he had last year, feels like he could take that step. And from what we've seen at training camp, he looks even more dialed in. And I know a lot of people might not have thought Amon-Ra could do better than 1,500 yards that he did last year, but he looks even better in camp. And then now you talk about adding Jamo to that kind of whole thing as well in that equation. And you look at that and you're like, hey, this wide receiver group, these two guys and Jared Goff, they might have a massive year. Is this a real thing going on right now at camp? I know we're not there every day and you are there every day. Is this a more consistent thing that people are saying, that these three guys are going to have a big season?
Oh, huge season. Let the hype train roll. I think that something that we're not talking about, and I'm doing a better job every day of, and I probably will eventually have to put some things I don't like, but people have been liking the who impresses me the most list every single day. But Jared Goff needs to be on there. The guy, and here's the thing that nobody's talking about too much is, what if Goff really gets better? What if his anticipation's better? What if his zip is better? His confidence, clearly the man got paid. So clearly his confidence level is there. It's his third year working intently in this offense, his fourth year in Detroit, working with Dan Campbell. The relationship that he has with Ben Johnson can only get better. The weapons are there. Now it's just applying the craft. And just think about this. Jared Goff was already a solid quarterback. Just imagine him getting better. Just a little bit more confidence to zip the ball into Amon-Ra St. Brown, to throw it deep to Jamo, to unlock the middle with Sam Laporta, to have the ability to have a running game. Just imagine Jared Goff being better. Just imagine now, let's just say, for example, he's checking out Dan Orlovsky talking nonsense that the Lions have the worst wide receiver core in the division. That's all probably that guy needs. Or he sees rankings or something that, I said or Booner said about him, or something that Easy said about how terrible Goff was. That's all a guy like that needs. And I like his new swagger. I think he's confident. He's zipping the ball all over the place. And man, Jamo was nice today. I was sitting right in the end zone by the pylon, kneeled down, and I got to see both the Amon-Ra touchdown and the Jamo 2-point. And man, was it sweet. It was nice to see Jamo make plays. And I think his confidence is growing. I think that he likes making plays. Look, he's human. He had a bad practice earlier in the week. He rebounds. I think Jamo, guys, it's time to say, okay, let's push him even higher. Let's say, hey, you know what? Okay, many people were talking about him, being the number 2. Like I've said all along, why? He should be out there being like, I want the ball. I'm number 1. He should literally come out there with the hashtag number 1 out there. And he should be talking like, he should stick his face out there and say, I want to be Justin Jefferson. He said, I want to be the best wide receiver in the game. He said that. But at the same token, now he's got to go out there and do it during the games, because it's different when you're competing against Kindle Vildor and a bunch of guys that are not Tyrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw today. But look, he's been playing very well, and it's time to get excited. Jamo, I think, understood that, and he said it. He said that, look, I maybe wasn't in the exact right mindset to meet my potential. Now he's locked in. He's doing the work. He's preparing before practice. He's making plays, and Jared Goff's going to throw him the football. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is just a pro. Like literally with Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's like, okay, you're talking like Jerry Rice type stuff. Like, hey, this guy can do this. Why can't you do like more? Like, okay, maybe, people are starting to whisper, maybe record breaking type stuff. I don't know, based on the Lions offense, if he'll get the volume to be able to go over 1,946 yards, I think it is. Man, but I wouldn't be surprised. The man is just great and truly nice, a true pro, does everything you want to do. And he just, like I said, the biggest compliment I could tell a player, and I told him, I think, I want to say it was last training camp. And Amon-Ra is great to talk to. He's always smiling, always gives you a fist bump, rarely ever denies media a chance to talk to him. I just had a chance to say, hey, I just want to tell you, man, just from watching, all I can compliment you is to say, hey, you make this game look easy. Like every day you just go out there and you catch the ball, you run, you're open, and people they hoot and holler when you make one drop in a practice. Like the defense, like everyone notices. Oh, one mistake from Amon-Ra, everyone notices. And I just paid him that compliment. I said, man, you make this game look easy. That's just the best way I can compliment you. And I think he appreciated that. And look, he's a true pro. I mean, we're watching greatness. So I definitely watch what he's doing, and you get him the football all as much as humanly possible. But man, guys, it's getting exciting, right? Like I think a lot of the reporters, and I know you guys too, are probably really chomping at the bit for the season to start. Like I don't really care about the Chiefs game, and I don't care about the Steelers game. I want to get to the Rams like right now. But there's a lot of battles in shaping this roster that we got to talk about. But I would get excited. Like, why not? This offense can be prolific. They should be able to score a lot of points, move the football, pick your poison, and just imagine, guys, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta, all better than they were last year. And the cherry on top is, what if Jared Goff is even more pissed off than he was last year and just really gets that thirsty taste like, okay, I want this Super Bowl. Man, when you got $50 million in the bank, you're newly married to a Sports Illustrated supermodel, life is good for Jared Goff. He should be out there balling.
And Doc, I just wanted to talk about Saturday. Any players that you have your eye on, maybe some guys that need to make an impact Saturday?
Yeah, I'm curious to see, does Levi Onwuzurike step it up there? I'm curious to see which players along the defensive line. Look, Josh Pascal's got to do a little bit more. I think that, he's been in and out of practice. You want to see him kind of showcase why the coaching staff really likes him. Look, man, I asked Aaron Glenn, and you can see it if you watch film. There was Mekhi Wingo had an okay game. It wasn't the best. PFF really hammered him. And, there were clear mistakes, but he's a rookie. But you see potential. You see the effort in practice. And you see a guy that, the more opportunities he can to play and learn from mistakes, I think he's going to do great things. And I think that he's a player that in a rotational role can play along the defensive line and do a lot of things. I think when Aaron Glenn gives him the stamp of approval saying that, hey, whatever that guy puts his mind to, he can be successful at. I'm very curious to see what Mekhi Wingo does out there. Yeah, probably the defensive line. Clearly Hendon Hooker, and clearly which wide receiver is going to make plays. Is it going to be Fountain? Is it going to be Caden Davis? Caden Davis today had a beautiful touchdown toss from Hendon Hooker, and he's kind of been there making plays, getting targeted very much, moving all over the depth chart, getting opportunities with the twos and the ones. So a lot of players to pay attention to on the back end. And then clearly the guy that everybody wants to pay attention to is, I want to see outdoors, how many kicks does Jake Bates take and what distances and how he does, because he's up and down. Like Monday was spectacular, but I think Tuesday, not the best. And then you look at opportunities, or today, on Wednesday, the opportunities weren't, I think he had a miss and a 53-yarder hit the uprights. So he's had like great days and not so great days. Tuesday was the off day. So we saw practice Monday and Wednesday. So one good day for Jake. And then Wednesday today was not the best, but man, you clearly see it. And that was the greatest thing too. We had an opportunity to talk to Dave Phipp off, like he was just ready to go and have conversation. So it was great. So we asked him, I asked him, how do you teach accuracy? Like, how do you get this done? And it's just, hey, more reps, more opportunities, taking advantage of the fact that there is no kicker. Jake's taking more kicks. So I think that opportunities for Jake Bates to kick field goals in pressure situations can only get better, but he's been, like I said, up and down. And, but man, it's just, like I said, I'm curious how they view that, where he has a big leg, but he just doesn't have the experience yet to where everybody's confident that, hey, when he's back there, he's going to make the kick. So he's got a couple of weeks to show it, but I think he's the guy. I think that, you can work around it, but man, you definitely don't want to start seeing him spray the football all over the place. He needs to kick the ball through the uprights.
Yeah, 100%, Doc. He has to. I think that's one of my biggest concerns. We know that Jake Bates has a leg. It's just the accuracy in big moments. That's what we're going to be worried about. But looking forward to Saturday, Dan spoke on possibly seeing more defensive linemen out there. Doc, do you think either of those guys could be Levi Onwuzurike or Josh Paschal? Because Paschal specifically, I definitely thought we'd see out there last week against the Giants. Do you think either of those guys are going to be out there on Saturday versus the Chiefs?
I think both. I think Levi, has an opportunity to continue to grow, and Josh Paschal to do some things. And I really have loved what Levi's done. I think he's taken it very seriously, and the grind that he's put in to get his body right and get healthy. You root for him to make plays. You want to see him sack the quarterback. If it's Mahomes, it'd be great if Mahomes is out there for a series or two to be able to get some confidence to boost him out there. Look, you can never prevent injuries. It's just football. And Levi could get just as easily hurt battling up against Kevin Zeitler than he could against somebody else. So to me, if you look at it on a big picture scale, philosophically, and I talked to it with the Giants reporter and I personally, looking at the importance of these players, I say when you have a good roster like the Lions do, Levi's getting good work against the Lions ones pretty regularly. So to me, philosophically, I'm more of the opinion to just sit everybody and to really get an evaluation of Wingo or guys that are younger that are trying to battle to see which player steps up and makes the team. But, I don't disagree with those decisions that are made by coaches to see about different players, because different players need different things at different times, and mistakes that are made can also help players. So, it's tough. The preseason is one in which I would not be upset if they scrapped it all together. I hope we get a better football game than we got against the Giants, because that was brutal. That was tough to watch. And I think the words I used in describing it to you guys was it sucked. And I hope it doesn't do that again. I hope we see some plays. I hope that Sudfeld actually throws the football to the receivers in a timing manner and some rhythm. I hope Hooker plays well. Let's just hope that the execution's a little bit better, because the Lions have had to shuffle and they've added a lot of new players. So let's hope it's not a sloppy disaster, because listen, Kansas City's not afraid to just go out there and embarrass you. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to the narratives out there, but I'm certain they want to kind of maybe avenge the loss that they had in the season opener.
Hey, Doc, how is Davenport just from when you first got to camp, he got back from injury, and now he's been playing a lot more. I mean, we're seeing him out there actively with the ones. What's kind of been your takeaway from Marcus Davenport and his him getting better, and kind of, do you see him at all playing in the preseason? I would say put that man in bubble wrap, save him for the regular season. But what say you, Doc, and your confidence that Marcus Davenport, what does he look like from when you got there till now? What's the progression look like?
Yeah, it looks good. I think that he has looked fluid. He looks good out there. He actually had a rep. I put down for sure that it was Monday. I think it was a nice rep where he got to the quarterback, and he's always around and he's battling. He's physical. I like what he brings to the table. I think that, the key for him is health, and I would not play him. I don't think he needs that. I think he's getting a ton of battles and reps against the Lions offensive line, and that's good enough. So I would be a little bit surprised if Davenport plays because of the, injury history and things like that. And I don't think, he needs the game reps. I think that the practice reps he's getting have been fluid. He's looked good. No sign of wear and tear from the past stuff. So I think he's ready to go. So I think to me, he's in that category of a player that is ready to go and a key contributor. And to me, key contributors sit. So I'm curious to see if he does get a series here or there in this preseason, but he's ready to go. He's ready for game one. And man, you're getting me excited. Marcus Davenport, meet Matthew Stafford, put his ass on the ground.
Oh, there you go. That's what the news we want, Doc. That's what we want.
I love to hear that.
I'm not behind much Davenport narratives, but that one I definitely can get behind, Doc.
Yep.
Whoa, that threw me off for a second. Doc, one guy I've been talking about on the show. I was big on Matthew Betts, and I had the pizza bet with Jeff that he would make the team, and that seems to kind of be falling away, unless maybe it sounds like he might be making a push for that Sam linebacker spot. But a guy that I switched over and I doubled down with Jeff on with this pizza bet is Isaac Ukwu, and I felt like he's a guy that they are. Whether it's the Sam linebacker spot or edge, they are a little, maybe a little thinner than they are in the interior defensive line and the edge and in the outside there. And Isaac Ukwu is the one that, like, when Dan Campbell talks about a guy, he tells the truth. And he brought up Isaac Ukwu, and when he brings him up and says, "Hey, I love what I see," not just in the first preseason game, but practice. What are your thoughts on him making the team and kind of where that goes? Like, is this a guy that actually has a legit shot at making the roster, or is that he's just kind of right there on the outside looking in, like there's just not enough spots for him?
No, that's what the preseason's for, is to evaluate guys that step up in the games. He's been presented a challenge and he's done some things. I love seeing what he was able to do. 45 out there. I thought that he made a statement and he made a case. And they are trying him at Sam linebacker. They see opportunities for him. But that Sam linebacker spot requires a lot of skill, and it's one of those things where you got to read your keys and understand where you need to be, and it's about consistency for him. I think he's right now in terms of, if I did a 53-man roster, he would be in, and I think that he's somebody that's very intriguing as well, that maybe is keeping Brad Holmes from adding other talent as well, and I think that he's a guy that is very much in line with what the Lions like. Physical, has battled injuries. I got a chance to kind of overhear what he was telling another reporter about things. And he just seems like a guy that has overcome injury. And that's kind of the grit factor that the Lions are looking for, that, hey, he may have a setback, but hey, he'll work twice as hard to improve his talent. And, sometimes, I don't get the interview, but I get the pleasant opportunity to walk by interviews and listen in a little bit and just get some background knowledge for just my information. And so, yeah, I'll share it. Ukwu was talking to Danny Rogers, and I'm always intently paying attention to her interviews because she's very talented and she does a lot of great work. So I'm always paying attention to what she's got going on in terms of who she's talking to, because she's with the team and she can talk to anybody she wants to. So she's having a conversation with Ukwu, and I'm like, okay, because I would have wanted to have that conversation, but they're talking and he's talking and he's talking football and talking about his history of injuries and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden he just veers off and just warmed my heart. It was great. He's like, I'm battling to make this team, and if I make the team, I'm going to fire up my podcast. And his podcast is called Off Season. And before he broke it all down, and I'm sitting there going, hell yeah, Ukwu has a podcast, and everybody should have a podcast, because it's the greatest. And here's my little 2-minute promo. The greatest form of broadcasting that anybody can do is podcasting. Anybody can do it. Few can excel at it, but I think the water should always be warm to try it. It's fun as hell. I made a media career out of just turning on a microphone and learning about it. Self-taught audio, self-taught media, self-taught everything in regards to podcasting. And to hear Ukwu has a podcast, he did one in the past called Off Season. If he makes the team, he's going to try to fire it back up. And he started like us in terms of talking about topics and stuff like that, but he really got into interviewing athletes. So that just made me happy. It just made me smile. And I said, hell yeah, more athletes should do podcasts. It's the best form of broadcasting, in my humble opinion. I think that you've seen clearly that form of entertainment is now in the mix. It's in the media family. It's just alongside live radio, and maybe even, neck and neck with how popular it is. And I just can't speak enough. So to hear him say that he's got a podcast, I almost just ran in and be like, I have a podcast. That's my name technically online. So I always, like I said, I always get excited, and you'll always see when you see the hashtag podcast, that's always from me, because I always will represent that form of broadcasting. It's the best. It makes me happy. And hey, Ukwu has to be on the roster so we can hear his podcast.
Yeah, I mean, Ukwu showed out against the Giants, but a guy that did not, and I think that would be rightfully concerned, is Colby Sorsdahl. And how has he looked since that preseason game? And do you think that the Lions, have lost a little bit of confidence in him? If not, do you think he brings it up and steps it up this week against the Chiefs?
Yeah, you look at it, and He's a player that clearly, you know, when you come from William and Mary, you got a little bit of a ways to go in terms of your development, and it's been up and down. That's the tough part, is that there's flashes where he shows his strength and leverage and his good footwork, and then there's times where he gets clearly beat. And there was some reps against the Giants where he got he's going to want to erase those from the history of the all 22s. But look, I like his energy, I like his attitude. He's considered a developmental player in my mind. He's got a long ways to go. I think that he's got opportunities to continue to grow and develop, but he's got to take his lumps. And I think that, he's kind of in one of those situations where, when you're and here's the thing, which is tough for young players, is they're asking him to learn different spots, left guard, right guard, different situations. And it's just tough because you're going up against, even on the second team, the likes of a Matthew Betts and really solid Broderick Martin on the second team. You're going up against really solid defensive linemen that are bigger, stronger, faster. So I think that he's got some work to do. He's going to make the team. I don't think they lost confidence in him. I just think that he's on a developmental path. We all would like players to develop faster. I do see the talent there. I think that he's athletic. I think he's got good push, and I think he's got very, very high football IQ. It's just the fundamentals sometimes, and he gets sometimes overpowered by these defensive linemen. He's got to really, in the end, it's so tough. Like when you're thrown into the fire, the Lions coaches want you to just do the fundamentals and do your job. And sometimes when young players get out of whack, they just do things that they're not supposed to be doing in terms of just not following the exact technique that the coaches want. And I think once Sorsdahl locks in, maybe at the tail end of this year into next year, I think you'll see a good player. He's got a good personality, good work ethic. I just think that he's just battling the fact that, hey, this is a different level of competition than you face at William and Mary. And that's the same thing you're seeing with Manu. Ooh, that tape was a little brutal from the all 22s. And sometimes you're like, gosh, I don't want to be watching the all 22s and seeing my guy Manu getting kind of handled there. But hey, that's the learning curve. And actually, we all look at it like, oh my God, this is terrible. That's actually a good thing for these players. It's like, hey, don't do this and don't do these kind of things and don't mess up your techniques. And this is where they can learn in the preseason. And for Manu, it's a redshirt year. So every opportunity he can to get out there and play is a great opportunity. So I just think that for guys like Sorsdahl and Manu, they got to take advantage of every rep that they get in the preseason.
And Doc, I want to ask you too, because me and Booner were out there and we saw Kevin Zeitler. And he's working. Can you kind of give me an update on him? I haven't heard too much. He got injured. How's he doing? And his progress into returning?
Yeah, he's a true pro. Look, veterans like Taylor Decker, Frank Ragnow, Zeitler, the value is just getting out there and getting in game shape. Look, in terms of, what are you going to miss if he's gone? Clearly, I think he's going to be ready for the start of the season. I just think that his absence, it's not going to be that big a deal. It gives opportunities for others to get their opportunities and do things. I think Zeitler is unique in terms of his strength, his knowledge of the game. And I think that he's going to fit in perfectly. I don't think, clearly he's older, and that's why I had a little bit of concern of offensive linemen that are a little bit older. But look, when he has an opportunity to get out there, I think you're going to see why the Lions are very thrilled to have him. I think he's going to be a stabilizing force. He does a lot of things well. And best way to describe him, Lee McNeil described him as a brick wall. And I think that's what he's going to be like. It's going to be very hard to, have a jailbreak coverage or defensive lineman burst through those gaps with him there. So you just hope that, he works his way back. It's challenging day-to-day type situations. It's good that, the Lions schedule is lighter now. There's no media access until next Tuesday. They go out on the road. I don't see Zeitler playing in the preseason. I think that there'll be opportunities that he can rest, get himself fully healthy and ready to go, because those 5 starting offensive linemen are top of the heap in terms of in the NFL. And it's a good signing, good, solid, safe signing, and an opportunity to solidify the offensive line with 5 really decent vets that can do some things.
Doc, just one last question here. One thing I noticed today, another thing at camp, was the secondary. Obviously, Terrion out. Amik was in, but it was Terrion, Brian Branch, Carlton Davis, all the starters that were kind of out in that secondary there. And it looked like to me, kind of the first group out there was Khalil Dorsey, Kendall Vildor, and Brandon Joseph. Does it feel like right now that there's a little bit more depth than expected in kind of that secondary room? Because that's what it felt like for us, at least when we were watching it. Because obviously you still have Iffy. Do you kind of get that feeling with those guys? Like some of those guys have actually stepped up a little bit, more surprising than we expected, and that depth has grown a bit over the last few weeks.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm going to talk about the secondary. I know your question. I've been locked in on the secondary, but I'm curious. King Horse put something in my mind. How many people in the chat believe that the books are just a front, that I have all the Playboys behind there and all the adult videos behind there? You think I actually read those books, or is that a front to make it look like I'm smarter and I'm just hiding a bunch of adult content behind there? I'm curious what the chat thinks, because it's 50-50. I'll tell you, there could be some adult content back there, or there could be more books. And you guys can just use your imagination. In terms of,
it's on brand, Doc. It's on brand.
Yeah,
possibly SI swimsuit editions instead of Playboy. Yep. Doc. You never know.
No, SIs are good, but why go with the T's when you can go right to the plate with the home run? Geez. You know what I'm saying? So it would not be PG if it was. So I'll say that. That's you know what I mean? Right on. You go right to the goods. You look at the secondary, and I'm impressed. First and foremost, I love that video of Amik Robertson where he's like, he goes to the crowd and he sees all the love for Kirby, and he's like, man, what do I got to do to get something like that for me? Show some love for Amik Robertson. The man balled out, got an interception. I love his swagger. He says that he loves playing on the outside because he can prove that, hey, when I get a pass breakup, I can shut up all the haters that say I'm too short. I love that swagger. I love what he's about. I love the fact that he's a gamer. And I think that Carlton Davis, it's a little bit concerning. I do have concern about his injury history. He's missed a lot of games. It'll be interesting to see this season how that progresses and how available he is. But yeah, I think that Khalil Dorsey, and I have to bring up a name. And it was weird too, because the one thing that, clearly you guys know, I don't lack confidence. I'm confident in myself, but I always trust my eyes and what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? I always report and I've always given the advice of just report what you see. For anybody that's asked me, how do you report on the NFL? Just report what you see. So the last couple of days, I've seen Kindle Vildor lock up JMO and lock up St. Brown, pass breakups looking. And so I just throw out there, hey, who's impressed me? Kindle Vildor. And then all the people are like, he stinks. What are you watching? I can't get over the fact. And then it makes you question, like, wait a minute. Has he had good practices? Am I missing? Because there's so much going on. And you sometimes, you guys see it out there. There's so many things that are intricate in reporting on an NFL practice. Who was the target? Who got the pass breakup? Who's in the stands that distracting me? Who's asking me about something that distracts me? So there's always so many things that distract you from writing the play down that you cannot literally report it all. You just try to gather as much factual information as possible. And I was like, in my head, did I miss Vildor sucking? And I said he was great, because that's the worst thing you want to do. You never want to do that. But no, he played well. And luckily the Lions showed some highlights, and he played well. He made some other observations as well, including mine. But he's played well. And I think that, as a rotational guy, I think he'll learn from having the ball bounce off his head. It's funny now to me, but man, that guy gets a lot of hate online. Like, I just mentioned his name, and I mentioned his name alongside Aiden, St. Brown, JMO, and everybody's like, you put Vildor as someone impressed you? You put Vildor? Something's wrong with you? I'm like, he impressed me. He made plays. And yesterday, I was standing directly in the end zone, and the ball is coming toward JMO, and he's step for step with JMO, and the route was altered, and he made plays. So what does that mean? I don't think he's going to beat out Arnold or Carlton Davis, but I think that he can, in a rotation with better people in front of him, you probably have somebody that can be, useful at times. I'm very curious with Khalil Dorsey. He's also made plays, but the name that you got to put in your book, clearly is going to make the team, clearly has something to offer, is Brandon Joseph. I think that he's emerging. His stock is rising through the roof. Had 2-3 days in a row with interception. I love what he brings to the table. I love his competitiveness. I think he's making it so that the media is talking about, damn, how many effing safeties can this team keep with how many good ones there are on the roster? So keep the name Brandon Joseph in mind because he had an interception against the Giants. And hell, I'll just call. He might have another one this week against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Doc, I'm all for the pro Brandon Joseph narrative. I appreciate the insight on Kendall Vildor. He did have a great day today. So he was playing. He had a pass breakup on Amon-Ra St. Brown we saw. So I'm glad you kept it real there, Doc. I appreciate you. You guys can check out Doc's stuff, Detroit Lions on Sports Illustrated. Link will be in the description, and listen to his podcast, Detroit Sports Podcast. Doc, we'll talk to you next week. We appreciate you.
Legend.
This interview is brought to everyone by BetUS, Doc. You take care, my man. Keep up the great work, and we'll catch up with you soon.
No doubt. Drink real American beer. Laugh more. Judge less. Check out, please, Lions on SI. We're grinding. We're in the mix with everybody else. That's all I want is just give me a chance. Check us out. Visit si.com/NFL/Lions or just Google Detroit Lions SI. I'm out there every day. I feel like my team and everybody that we do, we bring the coverage. And the key word, as always, my parting shot forever and a day will always be MLive has gone all subscriber, which is crazy. I saw that today. I'm like, every article is behind a paywall. Are you crazy? My stuff is free all day long. FREE free. Cheers to the best chat and great guys and a group of people that really get out there and trying to do their best. Cheers to everybody. Let's go. I can't wait to talk to you next week.
Here we go, Doc.
Hey, you know what? Hold on.
Get it, Doc.
Cheers, Doc. You take care of him, man.
FREE free.
Free.